Good evening, everyone. Notice hereby given the City Council and City Alpine will hold its regular meeting at 5:30 p.m. on Tuesday, August 3rd, 2021 at City Council Chambers at 803 West Holland Avenue and via Zoom conference in the city of Alpine, Texas. Meeting login details may be found at www.cityofalpine.com. This notice is posted pursuant to Texas Open Meeting Act, Section 551.043, Texas Government Code. Members of the audience will be provided an opportunity to address the council at any agenda item after determination of a quorum and proof of notice of the meeting. Zoom meeting guidelines and procedures may be found on the city website. Remarks will be limited to a total of 3 minutes per person. Speak into the microphone located at the podium. State your name and address for in-person attendance. When addressing the council, please introduce yourself by first and last name and state the ward in which you reside in or have business interest in. For public comments made by virtual attendants, please email your name and the ward that you reside in or have business interest in. For public comments made by virtual attendants, please email your name to the meeting moderator at g.calderon@ci.alpine.tx.us. If you do not live or own property in the city, please state that in your email. If you have a petition or other information pertaining to your subject, please email it to the city secretary beforehand at city.secretary@ci.alpine.tx.us. State law generally prohibits the council from discussing or taking any action on any issue not included on the agenda. But if appropriate, the council may schedule the topic for future discussion or refer the matter to staff. No personal attacks on council members or city staff will be allowed. The mayor or city council members may call a point of order to stop personal attacks or meeting interruptions. If an individual continues to personally attack an elected official or staff member in a meeting, they may be barred. Code speaking to order. Pledge of Allegiance, please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, indivisible. City Secretary, do we have a quorum?
Yes, Mayor, all council members are present. The notice of this meeting was posted by 2 p.m. on July 30th, 2021.
Okay, now we'll have public comments on any item on the agenda and limited to 3 minutes. Now, last meeting we had, I went off and I gave an individual an opportunity to speak, and I was correct out of sequence, and I was corrected by a council member, and she was rightly so. So in order to be fair with everyone, this is the opportunity for you to speak on any agenda item that's on hand. Okay, do we have anybody to come up and speak?
First up is Charles Maxwell.
How you doing, Ms. Maxwell?
I'm good. My name is Charles Maxwell. Good evening, Mayor, citizens of the council. It's my honor to be here. And I'm here in the agenda of a music ordinance. And I want to salute you for your bravery in pushing this agenda through. I actually feel like it's a very good thing for Alpine. It's going to help it a lot as Alpine moves into being a music city. There's going to be a lot more agendas to come for music. And so the congruency of how it works is going to help Alpine a lot. And so, and I feel like you have a lot of political movement for the passing of this ordinance. And I believe it is really good. There's 3 things to the ordinance that I didn't see. It's addressing specifically music in its titling, but it did not address any of the academia bands that play out and loud and at 10 o'clock in the morning. So those are things that should be, they're going to be under your guardianship. If the high school band's out at 10 in the morning blowing a really bad trumpet piece. And the guy who's the border patrolman that just got to bed, he's gonna like, I don't know if I really like that or not. But anyway, that should be addressed in this ordinance because you have the opportunity now at this time. And also, speaking of bad horn players, we have in Alpine the train that has a very large horn on it that far surpasses the decibel limits that you have set. And it blasts through our town at whatever time it wants. You have the force right now, and I believe you have the bravery to actually address that. It's our town, right? And I believe what you're doing is really good. And I think that those things should be addressed with this. And I feel like that in this movement of noise control, you know, that Alpine's going to spark from it. It's going to be a much nicer town, a more gentle town, and a very much more forward moving town. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, sir. Okay, next.
Next up, we have Dr. Avinash Rangwa.
Good afternoon or good evening. Yeah.
Good evening.
Council members. I don't want to be a pain. My name is Avinash Rangwa from Ward 1. Judy, thanks for being my council member. This comment that I have, it deals with the Exhibit A Rules of Procedure, Section 2321B. Same thing applies to item 9 of the City of Alpine agenda. And I'll read this item so everybody knows what I'm talking about. It said, Mayor shall, with 3 council members, constitute a quorum. If the mayor is absent, 4 council members shall constitute a quorum. I'll come back to this a little later. All rulings from the mayor or mayor pro tem on procedural or substantive matters shall be subject to appeal and reversal by motion and majority of vote of council at any time. That language seemed to be a little unclear. And as a mayor or the mayor pro tem may vote only in case of a tie on any meeting agenda item or items. First question is, okay, let me also read to you from the charter, section 303, mayor and mayor pro tem. C, mayor or the mayor pro tem. And the next part is very important, which is missing in this earlier one. Mayor pro tem, while presiding over the council in the absence of mayor. If I go back to this earlier, it says mayor or mayor pro tem on procedural or substantive matters. Both of you cannot preside over the meeting. Okay. Ruling is given only by the presiding officer. That could be the mayor. If mayor is absent, mayor pro tem. The lawyer, we have a very smart lawyer. Lord Pont, I know him, and he will, I'm sure, find a loophole in what I'm saying, which is what a lawyer does. Okay, another question. Okay, so that's the point that I want to make. That language should be clarified. All right, when there are only 4 members calling a meeting. Time is over?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Be quick.
Huh?
Gotta be quick.
Well, I guess I'm
Yeah.
sure. All right, that's okay.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Huh?
Yes, sir. Okay, next,
We don't have anybody else.
no one else?
We do have Darren Nance that just raised his hand.
Okay, yes, sir.
So first time up here, Darren Nance, Board 3, also on the Parks Board as well. So I was speaking on the action item 5 today. And basically, I'm speaking here personally and not for the Parks Board on that. But I saw, I guess it was 2017 when there was $215,000 dedicated to the creek trail. And that money hasn't been spent. It's all in the ordinance that you'll be looking at tonight. I actually agree with that, that to allow that money to be used for something else personally for that, to kind of free up that money, because it has been 4 years, I guess, that it hasn't been used and it's kind of tied up. But when I was looking at that, I was hoping it could stay within the jurisdiction or whatever of actually being used with the Parks Board. But I have heard that the reason that money is being spent is because there was during the cold spell that they had, it was super close to losing water and everything else. I'm very pro water, pro clean water, so that's very good. I'm glad you guys are doing it. I guess my question was, from the 215, taking the 50 away for the splash pad, which is, thank you very much for the splash pad. That is, thank you for funding that. That leaves about 165,000. So I was kind of wondering if that's all going to go towards generators on that. And I was also wondering if the city has looked at American Recovery Plan funds for that, if it's infrastructure or anything else, because I believe the city will be receiving over $1 million in ARP funds. So possibly if y'all could actually fund some of the things there to have some of that money, because there are some parks projects coming up, big ones. Pueblo Nuevo was 50-50 grant, and I know you guys are doing 180,000 of that. So that's a big expense on that. And then Marcy Tuck was talking about another one with Tech Stop. It's going to be possibly over a 9-year project, which would be another 400,000, I believe, over 9 years. So there's some big projects out there that would be coming down the line, and I would just hate for there not to be any money. I think it's hard sometimes for parks to have the capital improvement large funds for that on occasion. But so really, I was just going to see if the city had looked at or would look at looking at ARP funds for something like that. That was it.
Okay, thanks, sir. Appreciate it. Anybody else? No one else. Okay. Now I've got one presentation, and I think she's here. There she is. How you doing? Okay. You want to come up to the podium, man? Hey, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good. Okay, man, I'm giving the speeches.
Yeah.
Okay. Certificate of honor and recognition hereby presented to Alexis Heyman on the 3rd day of August 2021 for successful completion of the TCOLE Intermediate Dispatch Certificate. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. There you go.
Thank y'all so much.
Mhm. Okay, let's move on to reports. I don't have a report. City Attorney.
There you go, Mayor and Council. You get up, give you all a update on a few items. The former city secretary, Cynthia Solis, had filed a EEOC complaint against the city of Alpine. And the EEOC reviewed that complaint and decided that it didn't pass, it didn't have any merit with them, and they rejected it. So it's pending in limbo for us to see if she wants to go further and file a lawsuit. But as far as the EEOC is concerned, that matter's over with them. They took no action on it. The municipal court continues to do very well. We're meeting every couple of weeks, and we're resolving lots of cases and taking care of business there. And then other than that, I've been staying busy with city staff, trying to wrap up things for them as they finish up one budget year and get ready for another one. Does anybody have any questions for me?
No, sir. Anybody? No. No, sir, none.
You ready for me?
I guess, already, city manager report.
2 seconds to share my screen. Just 2 items I kind of wanted to go over. The first one is just kind of a update on our coronavirus COVID-19 status. I know there's been some recent cases and an unfortunate death that has recently occurred. So just a friendly reminder that yes, we're still under a pandemic. Currently, there are 955 confirmed cases, and this is since the beginning. This is John Hopkins probably has one of the better websites out of all of the organizations who present information. And of course, the State Health and Human Services also provides more on the local. Alpine has had 17 deaths. Compared to the state, their fatality rate is 1.69 and ours is 1.78. So we're slightly above the state average. This is coming from the state, and you'll see that they report things slightly different. The state reports 142 confirmed and 113 probable. Still comes up to the 955. There are 17 fatalities and 18 active cases. This is as of yesterday. They update right before 3 o'clock. And I had a budget meeting, so I don't have today's update on the state side. John Hopkins updates on a regular basis. I did reach out or go through the state website to kind of look at how the city is doing with vaccination, the county as a whole. Those who are 12 years of age have had the 1 dose, possibly pending the second. We're at 59.67%. Those who are fully vaccinated, 12 years and older, are at 51.65%. 65 years of age and older who've only had the 1 dose at 71.36%. Fully vaccinated, 65 and older at 63.47%. Countywide, the county is at 59.67%. And of course, that is roughly, they're looking at 4,169 fully vaccinated individuals out of 7,706. I just think it's important information to have. It is your personal choice whether or not to be vaccinated or not. This is just information to provide that people are actively seeking vaccination. I did reach out to the hospital and the emergency management coordinator to kind of get an idea of where the city's at. They do provide a resource of information, but they also suggest to really look at the state website because everything does go through them. Big Bend Regional Medical Center currently has 3 hospitalized individuals with COVID-19. They continue to recommend practicing social distancing, wearing your masks, and of course, good hygiene as per the CDC guidelines. So don't forget to wash your hands, kind of deal. The EMC as of today indicates that there are 18 active cases, 3 in the hospital, and then of course 17 fatalities. This is just, we were on presenting this information at every meeting on a regular basis. The state opened back up. We all kind of became relaxed in regards to some of the protocols and measurements and you know, the state's open, we're all open. This is just a reminder that if you're comfortable wearing a mask, wear your mask, wash your hands. There is the Delta variant. At this time, I wasn't able to locate any information as far as if any of the cases are Delta related. It is spreading throughout the state of Texas. It is hit the bigger populated areas. So just a reminder to practice your social distancing, wearing the mask, and hygiene. The CDC did come out with recent guidelines. I did send this to all of the staff. They are asking that if you are fully vaccinated to still wear your masks. The Delta variants, of course, is a big questionable item. You can still get infected and you can still carry the virus and infect others. So just to make sure you wear your mask, you social distance, and you practice clean hygiene. Just a reminder to everyone with the recent loss of the Soros faculty, kind of one of those that's hitting home again. Let's just be cautious. We have had a surplus of tourism, which we're all excited to have, but at the same time, it does bring in these uncertainties again. We just common sense at this point, wash your hands, wear your mask if you want to.
And that's one thing that Texas is in the top 1/3 of the virus. And that's running neck and neck with Florida. So we just need to take that extra precaution. I see a lot of folks still in town wearing their masks and whatnot, which is great. I see a couple in here, fantastic. But you know, the older you get, and now it's hitting the younger kids. The Delta's hitting the younger kids because they hadn't been vaccinated. A lot of them hadn't been vaccinated. So make sure we can't force you to do it. It's a choice of your own. Okay. But we need to keep the numbers down. I do not want to go through this long period again of staying at the house. And I know folks out here want to, feel the same way. We just had to go to Big Bend where a lot of folks were having good fun. It was one of the major events in the town where people got out. Hopefully we won't have any virus coming out of that function. So just be cautious, like this interim city manager said, continue to wash your hands, try to social distance and whatnot. And if you're not vaccinated, I urge people, but again, we can't force you to do it. That's a personal matter.
And I know the hospital and I had a brief conversation, Ruth, or an email conversation, and maybe we do need to look at trying to get some testing back out here so that as we start the school year back up, starts back up, that we have some testing available, just for that instance that we're not sure. People can go in and get tested. We were doing it kind of on a regular basis. And we've been good. Brewster County hadn't had any cases in several months. So we've gone from 0 to 18. So it's a significant concern. So just a reminder, if you're out there, wash your hands. If you want to wear your mask, wear your mask.
Yeah, another thing, I had talked to the county judge and the EMC about probably kickstarting the COVID task force again to trying to get the testing on a regular basis again. Not as stringent as what we had earlier, but let's just do it, on a timely manner, just to protect ourselves, protect the county and surrounding area. So he'll notify us when we'll set a date to get the meeting going again.
The other item I wanted to kind of go over was our employment opportunities. There's been a lot of changes. Some positions have been vacant for a long time. We're trying to get them filled, try to get departments fully staffed so that they can function at their highest. We did have our building official recently resigned. He moved back towards where he was living prior. So that position is also open. But it's also understanding with our employment opportunities, we're going to be updating all of our job descriptions so that when people do apply, they know exactly what they're getting into. Over the past year, we've had departments the ability to modify their job descriptions, update them. Now we need to just get them all formatted and back in a format in place where everyone's on the same page. Currently, these are all the full-time positions. Our administrative receptionist, police officer, public works mechanic assistant, a park service worker, 2 street service workers, 2 utility operators, a director of utilities, and a building official. And we also have a records clerk, and these are the ones that get hired under my position or within the departments. And then part-time records clerk and a part-time communications, which is our dispatcher for PD, and then internships. One of the big things we're pushing for is we're recruiting from a different aspect. A lot of the sources we kind of were using, we stopped using. We're trying to kind of go full blown and get it out there that there are all these positions open. They're wonderful positions to fill. We offer 18 holidays, paid vacation and sick leave. We have full benefits for full-time employees. There's just a wealth of things that you can get done as a city employee. We're utilizing the PD Facebook page. We're working with the Alpine Avalanche. We're working with the radio station, TML, and then the associations in which employees may or may not be participants of. So I fall under JFOA, which is the Government Finance Officers Association of Texas. They have the ability to advertise for positions relative to finances. And then you have your water utilities associations, you have gas utility associations. There's just a wealth of free sources that we're going to try to grab first before we look at reaching out for the further paid advertising ones. So we've kind of taken on a new campaign, try to put a little facelift on it and get the information out there as much as possible. So you'll see ads in the paper. We're always looking for employees. Currently, these are the positions that are open that we're trying to get filled. I know once Eddie and his team have a full staff, they'll be more comfortable moving full steam ahead. I know Chief would love to have another PD officer, 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 under his belt. We just struggle sometimes getting applications. So we want to get the information out there as much as possible, have it centrally located, all going through human resources, so that when something comes up, that individual can make the determination. You know, maybe they don't fall under administration, but they would be a great, and then fill them in with that position if they qualify. So it's having those conversations and streamlining it back. We have in the budget process requested a few new positions. Every department wants a full workforce. So hopefully within the next 4 to 6 months, the staffing will increase and everyone will have a full team to move forward. But these are the current positions that we're able to advertise for. And then hopefully, like I said, moving forward, we'll start advertising more and more and more. Tell your friends, your family, as long as there's no conflict of nepotism, we're excited to take on new people. Lots of benefits to it. And that was my short, sweet,
That was
to
your
the
short.
point.
Okay, let's go on to public hearings. Interim City Manager.
Public hearing to obtain citizen views and comments on the second and final reading of ordinance 2021-0701 and ordinance amending chapter 23, City Council Article 2, Rules of Procedure of the Alpine Code of Ordinances. Any public comment?
Yes, sir.
Rick Stevens, Ward 5, specifically page 6 of 7. It's talking about 3 minutes per person. I think that's rather insufficient. I think City Council ought to change it to 2 minutes per topic. So that's one point. Second point I'd make is this council has been very inconsistent on its procedures. You were inconsistent May, June, and July. It's all videotaped. If you adopt this procedure, you better get consistent, or you're going to be potentially liable for lawsuits, not at the state level, but at the federal level. The third point I'd make, and it is not included in this, but City Council may not prohibit public criticism of council on anything dealing with an act, omission, policy, procedure, or program or service. I've used 1 minute of my 3.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, item 2, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Can I talk about
Yes,
this
sir.
item? Okay. Well, I can yes. It concerns this 4 members calling a council meeting. Those 4 members are going to elect a presiding officer. So that leaves with 3 people voting. Can the presiding officer in that case vote? Even though he's not a mayor or neither in the mayor pro tem.
Yeah, that's something that we need to clarify.
Because the question
That's-
that
that's
relate
all
to
that-
that is, there are 4 people, if 2 are against and 1 is for, the presiding officer, can he vote to create a tie?
Yeah, because you're gonna have,
Then who's gonna break the tie? And this thing comes in when I was a council member. Mayor, at the advice of the city attorney, Rod was not the city attorney, was allowed to vote to create a tie. And that still rattles me. Okay? And the presiding officer vote to create a tie. So I'd like for you to take a look at that also, okay? Thank
Okay.
you.
yes, sir, thank you. I'll get back to the city attorney.
Second public hearing to obtain views and comments on the second and final reading of ordinance 2021-0702, an ordinance abandoning the unapproved portion of South Walker Street located between blocks 34 and 35 in Hancock Addition to City of Alpine.
Anybody? Move on.
Third public hearing to obtain citizen views and comments on short-term rental special use permit application for 601 East Kendricks. Owner of record is Catherine Stuckey.
No comments?
I'd just like to make a comment on that. I think the owner of record is actually Valerie Coggins.
It's whatever the CAD says, like the appraisal district. That's where I take the, the record order from.
Okay, so where does that leave us on, should something happen, the owner is deceased then?
Well, I can speak more to it, but I think we should reserve it for the action item.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, let's move on to item 7, consent agenda. Minutes, financial reports, department written report, board appointments, etc. Notice to the public, the following items are of routine administrative nature. The council has been furnished with background and support material on each item or it has been discussed at a previous meeting. All items will be acted upon by one vote without being discussed separately unless requested by a council member, in which event the item or items will immediately be withdrawn for an individual consideration in its normal sequence after the items not requiring separate discussion have been acted upon. The remaining items will be adopted by one vote. Interim city manager.
Approval of July 20th, 2021 regular meeting minutes. Approval of job description for the building official position.
Okay, entertain a motion. Somebody needs to make a motion on this.
Make a motion to approve the minutes, regular meeting minutes of July 20th, 2021, and approve the job description for building official position.
Okay, and I need a second.
Second.
Okay, motion been made and second. Any discussion? Okay, none. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Thank you. Motion carries unanimously. Let's move on to information or discussion items. And Councilperson Rodriguez.
Yes, I make a motion that we just have a discussion regarding the hiring of full-time city manager and full-time city attorney.
We're just discussing it right now.
I'd just actually like to know where we are on this. I know when we first started, it was brought up that if we could be provided with applications as they were coming in, and it's been over 5 weeks or so, and I haven't seen anything, so I want to know where we are on that. Have we not gotten anything?
Authority.
Hmm?
I don't have authority to advertise without your permission.
Okay,
So we'd have to put that on the agenda for next week. Make a motion on.
okay.
Okay,
I thought when we hired Gio, we were gonna hire Rod. So that was just my opinion. So maybe we need to put that on the agenda too, to just hire Rod full time.
well, I think we hired him on a contingency basis, isn't it?
He's
It's-
interim.
Interim, yeah, that's the way it should be. Okay, And second item is interim.
Discuss the proposed noise ordinance. So in your packet is some information that I unfortunately left off the last time. Chief had brought this to my attention that it had been discussed prior. Trying to stay on track of things, I got it back on the agenda. The concern is the complaint that the police department receives in regards to the loud noise from various music events, animals. It's kind of a house parties. It's across the board. Chris Ruggia brought up some valid information in regards, of course, to the event side of it and the hosting of the functions. I mean, for example, Viva Big Ben, you have a lot of bands playing. You did have higher levels of music going on throughout the entire city as a whole. You'll notice that there are some recommendations and changes. Chris had updated and read. The main concern is how do you address the complaints, which I did ask the chief to follow through with a listing of complaints, and you'll notice that they are across the city, from residential to outdoor venues. It's a little bit of everything. It's broken down by the search result types, music, noise. So you'll see that there's two different sections. Of course, we have redacted any of the personal information. I'd like to kind of move forward with this and get some guidance from the council on how you want to approach this. If an event is going on or someone in the public wants to have a party, whether it's the downtown association having mariachis going door to door, with businesses, or it's Viva Big Ben, or it's the American Legion, or it's the Crystal, the VFW decides to have a big blowout. How do you address the complaints? How do you record the decibels? What's too loud? What's not too loud? What's the time frame that this noise is acceptable and unacceptable? Mr. Maxwell brought up an issue. I guess he has left. The bands, your academia side of it. I know that the chief has a hard time moving forward with who's responsible. If I hire the band, am I responsible for keeping their noise level at a certain level? Is it the band's responsibility? If I work for a company, is it the company's responsibility? That kind of thing. Addressing how do we apply those consequences, looking at it from all aspects. The noise ordinance is in our current ordinances. It's not a new one. We're not bringing this up at, because it's brand new and we want to address it. It's redefining what's appropriate and what isn't appropriate. I know that the city has a music advisory board, and Chris has done some work with that. The city's trying to move forward with bringing in the musicians and bringing in that type of tourism and events. And so if we regulate it too strictly or too non-strictly, pardon my articulation, we've got to come up with that happy medium. So I wanted to get it out there, kind of give you what the chief had put together, what Chris had gone in and also made some recommendations. We've also had issues with animals barking at all hours of the night. Believe it or not, roosters do not crow just in the morning. These things also have to be addressed, so they are included in the ordinance. So I just wanted to get it in front of you, let you see, what's been kind of proposed, get some feedback from you guys, sit down one-on-one kind of conversation. I do want Chris and Chief to work together on it as well. They play together and they argue with each other. Chris is excited about the music and he wants it here and get the tourists in here. But at the same time, Chief has to enforce the ordinance and the violations, and you just need that happen.
Yeah, this is something that I think the council as a whole needs to really think about. They need to talk to Chris and the chief, because we got to get to a happy medium. You're right. We lower it too much, then we start losing the tourists. And that's hot money also. So I think we need to sit down and talk to the two and come to a happy medium on this.
I will, and it will be a surprise to them, but I will be trying to schedule a meeting so that the three of us can get together and kind of iron out some of the thought processes to present again. It will be discussion for a few meetings. That way you guys have opportunities to see the changes, make recommendations. I know everyone, we do a workshop for time safety and to make sure all the council members can be present, it'd be best as a discussion item for now. And then once we get closer to finalizing stuff, put it on as a first reading.
Right.
If that's the direction. we're going.
I'd like to see that, but I'd also like to include other people other than just the chief and Chris. Perhaps maybe owners from some of these facilities that use, most likely bring in bands, Old Gringo, Crystal Bars.
Yeah, sorry.
Well, the mayor has to
Yeah.
call in.
Yeah,
Mr. Mayor.
Yes,
may
sir.
I speak? And thank you. So I'm Chris Ruggia, Tourism Director, and in this case, I'm liaison to the city for the Music Advisory Board. So I just wanted to let you know that the entire Music Advisory Board and guests, we had a meeting where the entire group reviewed that. And so there were 4 comments that they had. And so we did get music venues, musicians, and event organizers input. So I'm just letting you know that's in the mix. It's not the end of the story, but it's at least begun.
I think we also need to include a few other people because I know this was really important to a lot of the neighboring properties as far as the short-term rentals. I know when this was brought up, they were wanting to be heard too on that. So we could maybe.
Definitely, like I said, this is just a discussion
Yeah.
item. It will take a couple meetings, kind of come up with a game plan, how we want to move forward with it. I just want it on your radar because it had been before. And you are right, Ms. Rodriguez, in regards to everyone has had some input at some point during the past year, actually probably 2 years.
Okay, any more discussion? Okay, let's move on to the action items to be accompanied by a brief statement of facts, including where funds are coming from, if applicable. Action items limited up to 10 per meeting after being called upon by the mayor or mayor pro tem. Citizens are required to state their name and ward of which they reside. Card will be given to citizens of Alpine and those who own business or property in the city. Individuals who do not live in or own business property in the city limits of Alpine will be allowed to speak at this time available. Item number 1. Councilperson Rodriguez.
Move that we discuss, consider, and approve the second and final reading of ordinance 2021-07-01, an ordinance amending chapter 23, City Council Article 2, Rules of Procedure to the Alpine Code of Ordinances. On that,
Now we need a second on it, and then we can discuss. Okay, I need a second on this, please. She has made a motion.
One second.
Okay, second. Now we got discussion.
on that topic, I know that what is on there right now is just cleaning up some verbiage and just adding YouTube. But I do realize that there's a lot of points that have been brought up and they've been really good and valid points. To my knowledge, I don't think that this has been looked at and cleaned up in quite a long while. So at this point, I think that maybe we should, I would like to move that we table it and perhaps put together a committee of some sort, for lack of a better word, to look into this and make the changes that need to be other than just cleaning the verbiage on this and adding YouTube.
Okay, so you're amending the motion because you made the motion, because it was a final read, so you amended the motion.
Right, I move that we table it.
Okay, so I need a second on this.
I'll second.
Okay. Motion's been made and seconded to table this item number 1. Any discussion? No discussion? All those in,
What can we, go ahead,
okay,
go ahead.
you sure?
Mhm.
Okay. So all those in favor of tabling this motion, raise your right hand. Okay, it's unanimous. Okay, let's go back to the original motion. All those in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. All those opposed, raise your hand. Okay, very good. Motion is defeated. Okay, let's go to item number 2. Mr. Sandate.
Discuss, consider, and approve the second and final reading of ordinance 2021-07-02. An ordinance amending the unimproved portion of South Walker Street located between block 34 and 35 in Hancock Addition to the city of Alpine.
Okay, you making a motion, sir? Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries in. Thank you all. Let's go to item number 3, interim city manager.
Discuss, consider, and approve first reading ordinance 2021-0801, an ordinance rescinding a portion of ordinance 2018-0601 regarding water utility reserve funds.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to consider and approve the first reading of ordinance 2021-0801.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, motion's made in second. Discussion. No discussion? Okay, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Okay, motion approved. Thank you. Item number 4.
Discuss, consider, and approve resolution 2021-0801, a resolution reestablishing and solidifying the process for appointment of community members to city boards and commissions.
Okay, entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we discuss, consider, and approve resolution 2021-08-01, a resolution reestablishing and solidifying the process for the appointment of community members to city boards and commissions.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
Yes, I have a question on some, under the hot committee and music, it states that it'll be appointed by the city secretary.
That was part of the ordinance that was passed maybe a year ago or so, early 2020. Council passed an ordinance, and I'm not too sure why that one was different, but that's how they passed it. So that is actually verbatim from our code of ordinances.
Every section of this is verbatim from our current ordinances.
Okay, yeah, because I was a little confused on that also.
I want to
So-
say, if I remember correctly, that the council still approves, and then it's, for whatever reason, the city secretary appoints.
And then I also have, the ordinance puts out for each council member to be able to make a recommendation. And then it comes to council who can deny, approve, or whatever. There's no guidelines on this. So I'd like to see something as to why we're denying, or, I mean, it specifically gives that right to the council member, but then yet council can just put it down. Is there anything that we can set to where I, for one, would like to be given a reason why my recommendations aren't being taken, if it gives me the right to make one?
Yes and no. Yes, we can do that. That would have to go back, and you would have to amend every single one of these ordinances to include that type of language.
Okay, because this is just, it's just been going back and forth.
Yes.
And then we've done things that are not called for in the ordinance, but yet we've left them. You know, we've come back and said, okay, well, we're going to fix it, but we've left the appointments that we made that were not done by the ordinance.
So that's why this is the square one. This is what the ordinance says. If you want to go back and amend every ordinance, there's not a problem with that. This is where we're at. This is what each ordinance says, to not only give the public the transparency, but this is how we need to move forward. Now, if we go back and you start amending each one, that's fine, but it needs to be done. And you are correct. It's been back and forth. It's been back and forth for years. Some are followed one way, some are followed another way. At your point with why does the city secretary get to under one but not another? All of this can be cleaned up. I'm just trying to get it on the agenda. One, to have a discussion. One, if we can get it approved, not approved. What do we need to change? How do we need to update it? But you are absolutely correct. It's been done so different that it's like, here, this is what your ordinances say. If we want to make the change, let's make the change. But going back and forth has got to stop.
I think we need to take a little bit more time to look at this. And like you said, sometimes we hurriedly pass these things just to look at one thing, and we leave everything else kind of hanging, where I think we need to look at it slowly and make the changes that need to be changed altogether.
You want to make a motion to table it
I move that we table it
for further discussion?
And
You might want to postpone indefinitely, because if we table, it'll be.
Oh, it's trying to come back up again, so postpone.
I make a motion that we postpone it and set up a board to look, or for lack of a better word, to look at how to make changes to this to address some of the things that need to be addressed.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, motion's made and second. Any discussion?
Make one comment about the city secretary. In these two you were talking about, originally the applications came through the secretary's office, who then made a recommendation to the city council as to whether or not that applicant should be approved or not approved to serve on the board. Wasn't the secretary making the decision, it was the secretary submitting the application to the council.
I guess I just, like I said, there's a lot of questions, like the
Well, I understand that
application.
too.
Yeah.
I was just clarifying that one point.
No, and I don't have an issue with the secretary doing it. I was just wanting to know what the difference, I mean, why some of them are the mayor and some of them are the secretary.
You want to be
I mean, I don't
consistent.
have an issue with either one of them.
Right.
I was just, didn't know what the difference was. And I guess I have a question on how can we go about getting a board set up to look into this?
Okay, you've got a motion right now, and then we can discuss it.
Okay.
Okay, that you are right on that. Okay, any more discussion on it? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Okay, motion carries. Thank you all. Now we can set up a committee. We can talk about it, bring it on the agenda for next week or next meeting.
Mayor, we still have the original motion. We
What's that?
still have the original motion.
Is she, who made it
That was to postpone.
to postpone, right?
And you still have the original to approve.
And the original to approve, okay. So now let's go back to the main motion to approve. I need a motion on that. I need a vote, I'm sorry. I need a vote on it. All those in favor? Okay, all those that are against it? Okay. Motion is to this, not to approve it. Okay, item number 5.
Discuss, consider, and approve resolution 2021-0802, a resolution rescinding the designation of a donation from Energy Partners for specific purposes.
Okay, entertain a motion for this.
I move that we discuss, consider, and approve resolution 2021-08-02, a resolution rescinding the designation of a donation from Energy Partners for specific purposes.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, motion's made, second discussion. And I think Megan has done all the legwork on this,
Yeah.
talking to Energy Partners.
But it
With
says
it-
in rescinding it, if it wasn't ever designated for anything, as
No.
they said, do we really have to do that?
So council
was-
designated it
yeah.
in
Oh, okay.
2017.
So it wasn't
council
them.
has
Okay.
Actually designated it to 2 votes.
And it's been, what, 4 years now? We haven't done anything with it, and these are projects that we can utilize and get done. Okay. Any more discussion?
I just want to make a clarification, if you don't mind, Chris, for the gentleman, and pardon me, I don't remember your last name. I do not know how much all the generators are going to cost. At the last discussion, that was the #1 emergency need of your departments, and that's where the request comes from. We are looking for outside sources for other things. He did bring up the American Rescue Plan. The city is receiving funds, but your biggest priority, besides paving, is your wastewater treatment plant. The wastewater treatment plant is a multi-million-dollar project that I would like down the road to be able to allocate those funds. We currently haven't even received the funds or the ability to use them. So shortest solution, shortest amount of time. It may cost a fraction of that. We may be lucky and get a 50-50 grant or something that can assist us along the way. The big thing is just to address, especially your water supply sources, and the ability to provide fuel. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, that's fine. No, that's great. I think we should go ahead with the generators. I mean, that's just something
We need
that
those.
has been needed, and I don't feel that we need to be cutting corners right now on that. If we need 10 and we have the money, let's get the 10. I mean, if this is money that's not doesn't come with strings attached to it or anything, and this is a need that we really have. And I do understand, the parks wanting some, but this was in dire need back then, and chances are we're gonna need them again, and I don't want to be in the position that we were back then.
I agree. It's really more of a safety and health thing. And we did 50,000 is set aside for the splash pad, and we do have budgeted for the Pueblo Park. So we are still taking in consideration other aspects of the Parks Department to help them. And he is correct. They don't always have that whirlwind of money that comes their direction. And then the remaining would stay with the fire department. They are in a position right now that they do need to replace equipment that has expired. That is a safety factor.
So it's gonna be money well spent if we change the designation of it. Okay, any more discussion? All those in favor? Raise your right hand. Okay, motion carries unanimously. Let's go to item 6.
Discuss, consider, and approve resolution 2021-0803, a resolution changing the first meeting date in October from the first Tuesday to the second Tuesday to allow council to attend the annual Texas Municipal League Conference.
Okay, entertain a motion on this.
I make motion that we discuss, consider, and approve resolution 2021-08-03.
Is there-
Is that not it?
Is there a second? Motion's made in second. Discussion. No discussion. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Okay, motion carries unanimously. Item number 7.
Discuss, consider, and approve the conditional use permit for the purpose of obtaining an alcohol license permit from the Texas Alcoholic Beverage Commission. The property is located at 110 West Murphy. Legal description being Lot 8, Block 55, original town to the city of Alpine. Property owners of record are Liz and Aaron Sibley.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion, we discuss, consider, and approve the conditional use permit for the purpose of obtaining an alcohol license and permit.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, got a couple of seconds. Any discussion on this?
Just a little background, just so, and I know that you have visibility to the packet as well. This is the little Airstream on Murphy Street that used to be a 3 or 4 businesses ago.
Fish.
Catfish, Fish Cat,
Catfish.
who also had an alcohol permit as well. Taste and See has closed their main restaurant, and they are downsizing to Petit Bijou and will be located in that establishment. So they're requesting it, but the property owners are
Yes.
listed.
Okay. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Okay, unanimously. Let's go to item number 8.
Discuss, consider, and approve a short-term rental special use permit for 601 East Kendricks. Owner of record is Catherine Stewart.
Okay, need a motion on this, please.
I'll make a motion to discuss, consider, and approve a short-term rental special use permit for 601 East Kendricks. Owner of record is Catherine Stewart.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, motion's made in second. Discussion.
Okay, so to answer Councilor Rodriguez's question, she is right. Valerie Coggins is the heir of this property, and they contacted me asking, what do we do? The deed hasn't been transferred to Valerie yet. And I advised them, per our ordinance, they can go ahead and basically proceed with the special use permit as written, and it's only transferable by inheritance. So it will end up with Valerie. It's just the record
Still all in
show-
probate is what it is.
Yes, and the
will is
record
probably
shows
probate.
Stuckey still for the time being. So it'll end up with Valerie Coggins.
Okay, any more discussion? All those in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. Unanimous. Let's go to item number 9.
Discuss ramifications of illegal dumping and possible solutions.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, discussion.
I know that we've spent quite a bit of time on previous meetings discussing the illegal dumping. And I know that doing something about it could possibly give the people a go, that they can just do it and the city's going to pick it up. I don't want that, but at the same time, there is illegal dumping that's being done. And with these rains that have been coming in lately, mosquitoes are starting to come up. There's one on Sawross Avenue all the way out going west. I think it's next to a county property or something that has an old trailer, old tires that is just sitting there collecting water, and the mosquitoes are getting out of hand. The neighbors are complaining and they'd like to see something done. And I agree. I know we can't go up and pick up everything that's being left on all the dumpsters, but I think that we need to take care of some of the ones that have a health risk attached to them. I don't know what the possible solution is. I guess I just wanted to put it on to see what we can come up with on how we can solve it.
Okay, so you made a motion on that? Yeah, this thing of illegal dumping, you see mattresses all the time out there. And I know I've had to go a couple of times and walk up to people, say, take it back where you know, back to your house and call the city to schedule somebody to pick it up. But, you know, there's also, when you buy a mattress, those furniture companies will take it back with them on the old stuff. But we need to address this. It's getting out of hand. It kind of stopped for a while. Councilman Rodriguez is right. There's a lot of it. The tires up there, they've been piled up for I don't know how long. And he kind of covered them up a little bit, but still there's tons of tires out there. So I think this is something that the council needs to really think about, how we're going to address this, you know, penalties and stuff like this.
Like we had discussed before, it's really hard to determine who is dumping these things, you know, at certain times. So it really does become difficult to cite someone when you actually don't know who it is, or.
Yeah,
so
unless
that's
you
another
catch them
issue.
red-handed. You know, there's a couple of your rentals that they rent to the college kids that on a regular basis, you see mattresses by the dumpsters now and whatnot. So this is something that we really need to take a hard look at. And yeah, you're right. We need to catch them. You just can't say, well, I think this belongs to you. You know.
Well, I wonder if we shouldn't table this until we come up with some solutions.
Mhm.
You know,
Right.
years ago, the city of Alpine had a grabber truck that would go around and pick up things like this. Unfortunately, I don't think it's working right now. At one time, we had a roll-off out here for recycling every Saturday where people could bring in large items. And then Jim was the driver at that time, who worked for TDS. He'd take the roll-off back out to the dump, and it was here every Saturday. We could think about maybe having no dumping fees at the city landfill 2 days a week or whatever, where these people might be inclined to go out to the city as dump, if they don't have to pay anything to dump a mattress or sofa or tires or whatever. But I think approving this motion with no concrete solutions, we're just kind of, to Chris's point, we're prolonging the
Spinning the
problem
tires.
without any solution. So
Megan,
my
do you,
recommendation would be to table it.
So it's actually perfect timing, Chris. I did meet, so we were waiting back for costs from TDS. Adelina Beal, the environmental service coordinator, I have been working on this. And you're right, there are no ramifications because we don't know who's doing it, but there are ways to deter it a little bit. Adeline and I have come up with a possible game plan. There will be costs associated with it to pick up the current issues. We do have an unofficial list. We don't make it publicly known because we don't want everyone calling in saying, oh, well, this mattress appeared. We know that there's an ongoing problem in certain areas. So we do have a list that we are addressing one by one. TDS came back with a list of quotes to include per work order, where we call it in, they come and pick it out, and we get charged for that work order. We add additional roll-offs at the recycling center. We look at the city doing it. So the city would have to go pick it all up, and then we would have to pay the deposit. Why do I say deposit all the time? Dispose of it at the landfill. There are costs associated with this. The big side the big scare is, you're right, is we don't want to do this on behalf of everyone and then people just continue doing it, because we want to deter the illegal dumping. So we don't want to put roll-offs in locations where people, oh, well, there was a roll-off there last week, I'm just gonna go dump it there because that's where they're gonna pick it up anyway. We want to encourage them to use the recycling center, which is why we requested additional information on if we have additional, bins out there, roll-offs, 40, 30 cubic yards, they can just go dump it, no questions asked. But also the expense for most people is they don't want to go all the way out to the landfill. They don't want to drive out there to dispose of it, drive back in there. So we're trying to kind of take that away from them. We actually just met this week. We came up with some things that we would need to do for internal policies. We do have with our code and compliance officer, making sure that, okay, even though that they can't ticket that person or cite that person, that after so many times in the same spot, we put up a camera. We start videoing these areas, which we have the capability of doing. We put notices on all the dumpsters that basically say, hey, don't dump here, you can dump at the recycling center, or, hey, this is being monitored. TDS does move the dumpsters after so many illegal dumps because it does prevent them from doing their jobs as well. We pick up the concerned areas. We have about a dozen right now that are concerns. They're the ones like you're mentioning, Chris, on Westall Ross. They are kind of a health and safety. TDS has already started picking up areas. That's where a lot of the pictures will come from because they're just doing it. But at the same time, they can only do so much in addition to their job. We've got an education program we're kind of putting together, which includes additional bulky pickups. What is your recycling center able to do? Where can you take it? Can you recycle it? Just a lot of information to get out to the public. If the council is willing, I would like Adeline and I to propose something next meeting so that you can kind of understand the costs associated with it. This would be a temporary fix. The city doesn't want to sustain illegal dumping the whole time. You want to create that deterrence, that education, so people understand. We know that you have a hard time disposing of it, but you have more than just one option. And we do have the guilty people who will put it in their truck, drive across town, and find the spot that there's illegal dumping and dump it so it's not near them. We used to go through the couch cushions. We don't do that anymore, but it is addressing it. And we do have a game plan kind of mentally prepared. We just need to meet together one more time to present it so council can kind of temporarily, we want to clean up all the hot spots, but then let the public know that cameras will start going up and we will start to cite if we catch you. We have residents who are great community watchers who send in pictures of individuals illegally dumping with license plates. So it's understanding that there are people out there who are concerned, and getting that information and verifying it. That's the hardest part, is making sure to verify, okay, this really did occur. Not some neighbor calling on another neighbor.
So would you like to table it until we get all some answers next meeting?
Yes.
Okay, make the motion then.
I move that we table this. Did you want it next meeting or do you want to?
I would love next meeting.
Next meeting?
We really want to jump on this because we have some really big hotspots.
I
Okay,
move that we table it until the next meeting.
okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion on it? None? Okay, all those in favor of tabling this till the next meeting? Raise your right hand. Okay, motion carries unanimously. Let's get back to the original motion, which has already been made. All those in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. All those against it, raise your hand. Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, man. Okay. Intercity manager.
Discuss, consider, and approve interim city manager to make staffing changes as necessary. Just a little background, we need to hire a city manager and all these positions coming up, and it would be a little bit easier just to get everything out there.
Okay. Entertain a motion then.
Make a motion that we discuss, consider, and approve the interim city manager to make staffing changes as necessary.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, motion's made in second. Any discussion? None? Okay, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Unanimous. Okay. City council member comments. Judy, we'll start with you.
Megan
Chris.
Morris out of our.
Yes, you did. Sarah?
I want to talk about the American Legion Park. They cleaned it up so nicely. I walked my dogs out there and it looks great. I love that. And I like the new signs that were put up. I noticed they were putting new signs up in my neighborhood. And I'm very thankful for that. Vida Big Bend was so much fun. I had such a great time. It was a beautiful event. The mural was great. The 5K was wonderful. And the downtown cleanup was another thing that her name is Adelina. She did a great job doing that as well. I mean, there weren't many people out there cleaning up. We did the best that we could. I appreciate being invited to that, and I hope that more people will, for the next one, that more people will attend and help us clean up and just pick up, you know, a few things. She set things up very nicely for all of us.
Good deal.
No,
Yes, sir,
no
Councilman.
problem.
Jerry, I want to thank all of you for coming in this evening. There's a lot on the agenda, and there's some things that we do need to go back on and reevaluate, and hopefully we'll get some of these same problems solved next meeting. Thank you all very much. We have no executive board. So means adjourned.